It's really different. And yeah, the Hangout on Air is live. Rah rah.
Yay!
Woohoo! Woo! Tax season's over. You know, it's funny. Tax season doesn't really affect me. I'm wearing my badass tap out shirt too. You see, it's very violent.
You have to see it in full view. You can't just see the top of it. It looks cooler. All. Yay!
See? Tap out. In your face.
In your face.
In your face. So Tap Out was a client of mine way back when, before they were a $30 million company or whatever they are today.
Okay.
So I used to do a lot in their clothes.
We've covered Spotify. We've covered. Let's go back to Spotify in our lists.
Okay. So let me actually open up my Spotify application, as long as we're talking about it. So, and it's funny because now, as we speak, I've got Pandora playing on my phone, Rusted Root, rockin' Rusted Root. I love those guys. Joanne, you probably like Rusted Root. I would expect you like them.
Yeah.
You know them, or are you just playing along? Okay,
I'm just playing along. Why would you think I would like Rusted Root?
Because they're totally in line with the whole hippie theme.
Oh.
And you and your tie-dyes, I would totally expect you like them. They're really kind of a one-hit wonder, though.
Well, here's the thing. With the tie-dye thing is only a style choice. It's not necessarily a lifestyle.
It doesn't reflect your musical tastes? You're not a deadhead?
Not a deadhead, no.
Okay. So now, here's part two. When I recently bought my new Samsung Galaxy Note 4, or upgraded to it, it came with a promotion, this Bluetooth speaker. It's really cool, and you wouldn't believe the sound this little thing puts out. I mean, it's awesome. So I'm rocking out. I don't even play the music off of my computer anymore because it was weird when I connected my computer via Bluetooth to it, and it sounded awful. But my phone sounds fantastic. So here's a little Rusted Root for you. Tax season's over. Everybody's happy.
How come Seth and I are the only ones dancing? Come on, Gina.
Sorry.
A little bit. Julianne is sporting her thumbnail image. She's not moving.
You know, it's high five today, so high five, Seth.
High five.
There you go. High five, Joanne.
How?
Good morning, Dennis. Don't forget to unmute. It wouldn't be the same if we didn't hear Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse has now dressed up, and he no longer wears his Mickey Mouse T-shirt. Watch him make a liar of me today. Dennis was dressed very nice last week. Not that he isn't always, but.
In the spirit of having fun, which of course we always do every week here, but I wanted to make today kind of extra fun. One, because I planned absolutely nothing. So I said, okay, it's after tax day, everybody's excited, tax season's over. So I brought my 0 blue balls.
Deflated. You have to blow it up. You have to blow up your blue ball.
Let's see if I don't blow a head gasket while I'm doing it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and you sound good.
Yeah, I'm calling on a Chromebook. I got a Chromebook yesterday.
A new device.
Yeah.
Didn't you already have one of those, or didn't you get a Chromebook a long time ago?
No, I decided to wait till after tax season.
Uh-huh.
And it is officially after tax season.
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah.
You had a day of rest before you went out shopping.
Yeah. I could probably run my business off of this Chromebook because I can print with the Google Cloud printers. You know, I've got my printers hooked up to the Google Cloud. I've got my everything that I use is on the web except for a few things like Excel, which I could use with, you know, Google Spreadsheet. So.
Awesome. But we don't see you, Dennis. We hear you, but we don't see you.
You don't see me? Oh, okay. Just a second. Do you see me now?
Just
nope, no camera, just you.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, good
Good morning,
morning.
Sarah.
Good morning. What are you blowing up?
I'm blowing up my Zero blue ball.
Sweet.
It's fun day.
It's fun day? Yes.
Got blue balls.
I love it. You guys all made
Zero
it.
gave them to us.
Who did?
Zero.
Oh, nice.
See?
I'm going to convert my husband's books over to Zero.
Really?
Yeah.
And well, since you brought that up, what made you decide to make that change?
Well, accessibility for me, because there are days where I could access it on, I don't use QuickBooks Online for him, and I feel like there are days that I could access the file and work on it when I don't need his computer, because I run it on Parallels desktop, and for some reason his computer's a little bit older and it's a little clunky. So that, and I just want to try it out and see how it works. It seems to have, I don't know, just a really good capability for what he's doing. So
It's great. Have you looked at our course on it yet? The one I just published?
I am so happy you posted it, because I'll be looking at that and using that as my little tutorial to help me. So
I'm actually really pumped up about Zero. One, because the course is being released, but also I've been spending a lot of time. I've been doing, believe it or not, long before you see me start talking about stuff online, I actually do some research on the stuff.
yeah.
So I've been playing around in the Addons ecosystem. And doing...
Whoa.
I'm going to mute you. Nothing personal. Love you.
You were saying?
So, I was saying that there's some really cool add-ons in there, and I'm starting to I'm seeing the future, right?
Nice.
I'm seeing my Zero blue crystal ball.
So, Seth, have you played with Bill.com and Zero?
I have not yet. I know that initially that integration was, has it gotten better?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I don't know either. I don't know. We're just a whole lot of not know.
Okay.
There's a new magazine. There's a new magazine out called XU Magazine. I just subscribed. It's an English magazine, and it's really interesting. I mean, it's fairly pricey, but it's got a lot of articles about just the future and where Zero's going, and also the add-ons. So it's actually, although it's pricey, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Nice.
My blue ball is fully blown.
Nice.
Zero. So it'd be cool if I could like tap it over to you guys.
Bounce it around.
Like here, pretend like
we
you
should
just...
do a video like that. You should mail everybody a ball.
Oh, that would
And
be
then we could
cool.
do the whole passing of the thing.
Yeah, I like it.
You know what? I'll have to send one to each of you.
Yes.
So we can at least, so when I tap it out, one of you can take yours and pretend like you just got it.
Yeah.
That's
Brilliant. Who came up with that idea? That's brilliant.
Joanne.
I do have quite a few of these still. Ian is very generous in giving me his blue balls. So
Pass them around and everybody to have fun.
if only Ian was here to talk about. Well, I'll definitely make sure he watches this.
That's hilarious.
So I've been playing around, looking in the ecosystem to see what's out there, because I'll be honest, I haven't explored it that much. I've still been substantially of that mindset that I want to try and make the core GL package do everything. And I'm learning that the way things are going, that's not going to work. We're going to need to start getting into the idea and mindset of using the ecosystem to get a complete solution for a specific industry.
Well, that's the direction I've decided that I want to go in, Seth. Once upon a time, with QuickBooks, you wanted QuickBooks to do everything. You wanted it for your tax returns at the end of the year, and you wanted to run your business in QuickBooks. That's why you have the inventory and all the extra things that it does. These days, do you really need all of that in your accounting program?
Right, and maybe more specifically, do you want all that, right? Because I think what we've been trying to do for years is take a single solution and force it to be the whole solution, and we end up getting 85% of a solution, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
When instead I can take a Core GL package and combine it with the add-ons or apps or whatever you want to call it and get 100% of the
To the
solution.
businesses so they can run their business in the other packages, and it feeds into the accounting. At the end of the year, you have your financials to give to your accountant, and during the year, you can actually run your business.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, by the way, Gina, who do we have over your right shoulder sitting there on the shelf behind you? It looks like we have a couple of astronauts or something there.
Oh, those are little Microsoft men. I got them, oh my gosh, Windows 95, I believe. For some reason, the men in my life have always been IT kind of guys, and I've
Okay.
gotten these little toys. These are two of my favorites. They've hung around with me for a long time.
And I love that character in red up on the shelf above them.
The character in red would be the Nerd Enterprises pen. I put that on my shelf of swag.
I still have a few of those sitting around here behind me on my bookshelf. I can't give them away anymore because they're the last. I'm thinking they're going to be worth something someday. They'll probably never be worth jack, but you know.
Well, right next to Nerd is the T-Sheets heart that I
I
got.
see that. I recognize that, actually. Nice. Oh, and speaking of, I hope you noticed that we did launch our T-Sheets course this week. And look, I'm representing. I
T-Sheets.
got my T-Sheets coffee mug.
T-Sheets rocks. And T-Sheets is one of the applications, I think, that really helps you move from that all-in-one package to an ecosystem kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's what we have to start to embrace, really, is the idea of, you know, you can't do it all in one. And, you know, the argument that we're going to get, that we've been getting, is, but now I have to pay for all these different apps, and it's going to cost me like $100 a month just in software. But think of the time and the value of that time that you're going to save by having a complete system that really works. I mean, I was looking at something last night. I'm not going to go as far as to reveal what that is, but it plays into a course that I'm going to start producing for School of Bookkeeping. And when I saw what this particular app can do in terms of managing the information you need for a particular industry, and the fact that it works on every device, right? Because let's face it, the Xero app, the QuickBooks Online app, only does so much from here, right? And there's another toy I recently got for myself. It's today's show and tell, so if you got toys to show, break them out.
Oh. I don't have any new devices. All I have are my old devices to play with.
I got my Samsung 10-inch tablet.
Nice.
Nice.
I love this because it's like Big Brother, Little Brother. Big Brother, Little Brother. It sounds better if you say it with an English accent. Big Brother, Little Brother.
I guess I'm a Samsung kind of gal too.
What Samsung phone is that? Is that a Note?
What?
Is
This?
that a Note?
Note 4.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Note 4. Don't discount me, Dennis. It's a 4. And
You know,
There's
there seems
nothing
to be
wrong
kind
with the threes.
what?
I said I got a 3.
You know what, Joanne? I just needed one that went one louder.
Yeah, I know. I'll wait for 7 more months, and then when my thing's up, I will be getting a 4 too, or maybe a 5, whatever's out.
I skipped over 3. I had the 2. I'm an even numbers kind of guy.
Oh, are you?
I had the 2. I was locked into that for 2 years. That's what I hate about these contracts, like Verizon, you know, where they make you stay with the same thing for 2 years. They got a little better. Now it's like a month-to-month plan where you still pay if you get out early, but I can get out of it completely in 18 months instead of 24. I guess that's a little better.
That's what AT&T does.
It seems to me they could make so much more money off of people like me who love to upgrade every year. But then I guess they don't recover the equipment cost if they discount it, and, you know. So, Sarah says she's looking forward on the next bits on the cash flow course. You know, I need to actually do the cash flow course. I assume you were referring to the Mastering Excel for Accounting Pros kind of led off with a cliffhanger. See, I try to do it like the way TV does it, right? I led off with a cliffhanger. I gave you a taste, a tease of cash flow projections, and now we want the whole thing. We want it all, don't we?
Yes, please.
More cash flow, please.
It's on my radar.
Okay.
It's on my radar. It's on my tablet. So you know, looking at the ecosystem, looking at this one particular solution for this one particular industry that I'm looking to do a course on, I'm excited because now I'm realizing how wide open it really is. And my goal now is to go out there and show people that there are other solutions out there that, you know, to get away from thinking of one core GL package as the entire solution, because it's trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And you know, so that's where I'm headed this year. What are you guys thinking in terms of now that tax season's over? We talk about the different apps we want to learn. Who was it, Joanne? Was it you who posted that image of all the different apps, or maybe it was Mariette? Somebody posted an image in Abo of all the different apps, saying which ones are you going to learn this year. And I have a mind map prepared to share with you today to look at that kind of ecosystem.
Because that's what Seth does for fun, mind map.
I do. It is what I do for fun, mind maps, and lately I've been playing more in Trello just because I love all these tools. My challenge is trying to figure out how to make them all work in a cohesive way where it's not confusing.
Yeah.
My challenge is finding the time to play with all of them.
Well, you know, you got to raise your rates, Gina, so you have more free time to play.
My epiphany after tax season was, instead of looking for new clients that are just starting out, I want clients that are now ready to be serious in their business. Too many times when clients are first starting out, they think that they can do it all. They don't need to do things like pay for somebody to help set up their bookkeeping system. They're just going to do it all. Then after about 2 years, they're in business for a while. Maybe they do get an IRS notice. They're like, huh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should be letting someone else who knows how to do this and spend my time on my business. That's where I want my client.
Right. Dennis, what's going on over there? We're having technical difficulties?
Yeah, I'm quite shocked with my Chromebook. I mean, all of a sudden it just kind of went dead, and then I powered it back up.
Well, at least we got you back. So, Gina, I love what you said, and it's interesting because somebody posted a question in Abo this week, and for those watching who don't know what Abo is, I don't know how you could not know what Abo is by now.
Oh.
But it's Accountants, Bookkeepers, and Business Owners, our group on Facebook. So just search Facebook for Accountants, Bookkeepers, and Business Owners, and as long as you have a profile that looks like a real profile, we'll let you in. And as long as you don't spam us, we'll let you stay. So anyway, somebody posted the question this week, like, if I want to target a specific kind of client, how do I do that, right? And you know, it's interesting because it's a good question, really. Like, how do I, you know, we always talk in marketing and whatnot about you know, targeting specific clients and how we do that. And I'm sorry, somebody's echoing here, so I'm going to just mute some of you guys just to see. All right, are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Feel free to unmute yourself if I muted you and you want to talk, but I just want to keep the background noise sort of down when people are talking. So the challenge is we always say, oh, go after your target market, identify who your target market is. But you know, that sounds amazing in theory, but how do you do that, right? So I think the first and obvious answer to that question is you put it on your website, of course, right? And it was funny, Katie Peterson had responded a comment. She wrote a very detailed comment along those lines, and I kind of summed it up more succinctly by just going out there and saying point blank, well, first of all, put it on your website, and the way you can, you know, it's not like you put the phrase, hey, we're looking for such and such a client. You phrase it a little differently. You say, we specialize in XYZ, and you describe the client that you're looking for, right? So if you want to work on clients in the construction industry, then you go out there and put a page up that says we specialize in accounting for construction companies, right? And so that's how you, I think, start targeting your target audience, the people that you really want to work for, right? And then, I've been putting it out there more and more lately on our own bookkeeping page on Nerd Enterprises, which is my consulting arm. We have a bookkeeping services page where I've outlined packages. And the bottom line is, if there's something you really enjoy doing, something you want to spend your time doing and getting paid for it, then you offer it as a service. It sounds very obvious and straightforward, but a lot of us overlook that, I think. Right? So, Gina, what are you doing to go after these clients that you're really looking for?
Well, actually, I'm working with someone on my branding, and we're coming up with what we would call personas. And I originally said, I want a person that's just starting out in business. They're brand new. They're a blank slate. I can set them up, and I can help them maybe get through some of the bumps and hurdles that new businesses go through by starting with them at the beginning. Well, working with them and looking at what my ideal client is from my database, really that's not the case. The case is most of the people that I enjoy the most working with have been in business for a couple years. They have some income coming in now, and they want to re-look at how they're doing things. So they're willing to do things like go to QuickBooks Online, but use Bill.com to maybe pay their bills electronically, which is different than what they've been doing, which is using QuickBooks Desktop for everything. So I'm looking for the client that's reevaluating their business and coming to the conclusion they're good at what they do. They want to put someone else like me in charge of their bookkeeping so they don't have to worry about it, and I can make their books perfect for them.
Right. So are you thinking in terms of, especially since you're talking about startups, are you thinking in terms of packages where they can have predictability and they know this is what it's going to cost me every month to work with Gina? Or are you?
Oh, absolutely. Package it. Flat fees are part of that.
Right. And how are you? So are you doing all the work yourself, or do you have people working for you who are helping you provide the services?
I have people working for me, helping me provide the services.
And so are they getting paid hourly, or have you considered paying them on the basis of, let's say, a percentage of revenue?
We're still at the hourly basis, but I would like to move towards, like you said, a set package for them. They have this client, they do this, this, and this, and they get paid no matter how quickly or slowly they work on it.
Right. So that's how you hedge yourself. Because my biggest concern in moving towards value pricing was I'm going to potentially lose my shirt if I'm paying somebody by the hour, but I'm charging a client a flat fee. What if 1 month it takes them a long time, something comes up, and it takes them a lot more time than normal to resolve whatever issue it might have been, and now I'm getting billed by the hour against a flat fee, and I lose my shirt. Now, some would argue, okay, but that's not going to happen that often, so you lose money here and there 1 month, but you make money in all the other months. But my philosophy is, no, I want to make money every month. When I analyze the P&Ls for a client, I total it by month because I want to see month over month, are we profitable every month? And in the months that we're not profitable, I want to look at why that happened to see how we can make sure that we're profitable every single month. Because if I focus on 1 month at a time, and for that matter, if I focus on 1 day at a time, and if I'm profitable every day, then I'm profitable every week, and then I'm profitable every month, and then I'm profitable for the whole year. So that's kind of the approach I take in looking at these companies and analyzing it. So the way to hedge yourself is to get the people who are working for you to get on board with the same value pricing concept and pay them on the basis of a percentage of revenue. This is the kind of stuff I'm going to be talking about in detail and demonstrating using spreadsheets and other things in our upcoming course, which is going to be on, what is it called again? Hold on. It's called Accounting and Bookkeeping Cloud Practice Management, the ABCs of starting and growing your business in the cloud. And there's going to be a whole section in there that I've started to write on value pricing and how to really make it work. And actually, I like to put a little shift on this and call it power pricing. Because in my opinion, value pricing speaks to the idea of, what is the value and the perception of the client. And my comment on that is the client has no clue what the value really is. If they did, they probably wouldn't need to hire us in the first place. They could just do it themselves if they knew it that well, that they understood the value, right? But the idea is, when I put that spin on it and I call it power pricing, the idea behind that and where that name comes from is I like to think of shifting the power back in our hands so that we as the consultants decide what the value is. In other words, the power is in our hands to decide what the value of the service is worth. In other words, rather than worry myself about what's it worth to the client, I'm going to shift the coin on, or flip the coin on that, shift gears on that and say, no, forget what the client thinks the value is. What is the value that it's going to take for me to get up and get excited about going to do the work for the client? How much is it worth to me to get me out of bed in the morning to go do the work? Because at a certain level, I'm going back to sleep, right? But if you pay me enough to make me excited and make me feel good about what I'm doing, then I'm there with you 150%. And in my opinion, that's when we as the consultants are providing the best value to the client, because we're so engaged and so excited about what we're doing and how much we're getting paid for it. And let's face it, if we're concerned about not getting paid enough, then in the back of our minds and at certain points while we're trying to do the work, we're going to get distracted by the fact that we feel rushed because we're not getting paid enough. So we got to get this done quickly so we can move on to something else and get paid more, right? So that's kind of my thinking behind this whole concept of value pricing that I'm calling, or my spin on it that I'm calling power pricing. And so this is a lot of the kind of stuff that's going to be coming out in our course on accounting and bookkeeping cloud practice management. We're going to focus on value pricing. We're going to focus on looking at the ecosystem. We're going to focus on specializing in certain areas and industries like Gina was talking about, so that we can, because let's face it, you know, in the old days, and by the old days I don't really mean that much in the past, but previously my concept was, and I have a whole post I wrote on the Sleater blog about this, was that the post was called something like, why do accountants and bookkeepers limit themselves? And the idea was that if I understand the accounting at the core, if I understand my basic debits and credits and how things flow from the balance sheet to the P&L and vice versa, and I understand how a statement of cash flows works and what that is able to tell me about the overall picture and financial position and health of a company, if I understand all that, then going from one industry to the next is just a matter of understanding how to tweak the semantics a little bit. You know, the language changes, and some of the surface level stuff is different, but at the core it's basically the same, right? I take money in exchange for a product or service. When I'm in a service-based business, it's really a product. That product is my time, right? Because I'm providing my time in exchange for money. So at the core, it's the same concept, and what I'm hoping to do is pay somebody to provide that product or service, or make that product or provide that service, and then mark it up to the client and make a profit on that, right? So whether I'm selling ice cream cones or widgets or accounting services, the language changes, but the core concept is basically the same. So my theory was that anybody could go out there, and if you understand those core fundamentals.
Seth froze. Ah. Yes, we agree, Seth. Okay. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties. How are you doing there, Dennis?
I took one day off. Now I got a rush job for I have a client in Shanghai, China. He's trying to get his wife into the country, and he has to have 3 years worth of tax returns done by Monday. So I told him I think I can do it. They're fairly simple returns, but it's
time limit is tough. How far are you on it, or are you working this weekend?
I'm working this weekend. Plus, I have to mow my lawn. It hasn't been mowed for a while, so it's like may have to get the weed whacker first.
Uh-oh.
Give it a trim and then mow it.
So who else do we have that's live with us? Joanne, what's happening?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, because my video it's really getting.
Google must
it's like
be
stopping
doing
and
something.
it's
Is it
like
lagging?
stopping and starting. It looks like everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good old Google.
Love Google. Thanks, Google. Can you fix this for us, please? We're trying to do a Hangout here. I know you're listening in, and you're laughing at us the whole entire time.
Well, I was telling everybody I bought a new Chromebook. That's what I'm on today, and it seems to be working pretty well. Although, can you see my video, or can you see me, or?
We can see you now, yes.
Okay. It seems a little faster, the Chromebook, and I was saying that I could probably run my business off of this Chromebook because I do so much stuff on the web. But in fact, I found out there's a Snagit for Chromebook too. So if I can take a picture and save as a PDF, then I'm all set.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I don't know if I'm ever going to give up my desktop.
Yeah, I like my desktops, but I am actually going out to get getting a Mac laptop more for some video purposes and stuff. So more to play with than anything.
I love it.
A client of mine said the fastest PC he's ever had is a Mac running.
Yeah. Well, I do have several clients that are on Mac, so it's gonna help me. It's gonna make my life a little bit easier dealing with them. So.
So where did I lose you guys?
I don't remember, but it was at a good point.
I know. We were on the edge of our seats, Seth.
I was on such a roll, and all of a sudden, my AT&T Uverse internet decides to go out. I swear. I mean, when I moved to AT&T Uverse, it was a relief because it's so much faster than the old DSL, but it's so freaking unreliable. I swear, at least twice a day, my internet goes out. So, anyway, I guess the bottom line of what I was trying to say is that, you know, we're going to need to specialize because we can't learn all the apps for every industry. You might understand the core accounting, and that might be enough to get you to be able to work in any industry because you just kind of plug in the semantics and the nuances, and you can usually learn the nuances of an industry pretty quickly to get the core accounting done. But at the end of the day, you can't learn all the apps for every industry, and the way things are evolving, I think you need to be prepared to specialize in a few industries and learn the apps for those industries that work with your core TL package.
I belong to another accounting marketing group, and one of this guy's big points is there are a lot of free trade magazines out there you can subscribe to on the internet. So if you were thinking about specializing in a particular industry, you could kind of get an overview of the industry and what the concerns are, and if you even like it. You know, also you can join trade groups and go to their meetings and see what kind of problems they have, and then, you know, offer solutions there, meet them face to face. So that's, you know, especially like contractors or that kind of thing. But there are ways of learning more about the industry before you jump in.
Yeah, I just think right now, though, I mean, I think one of the problems that I have, and I'm sure we all have it, is being able to make sure that we're not dedicating too much time to playing with the toys. You know, I mean, I get that squirrel shiny object thing going on when there's, you know, so I really try to keep myself, I know that there's new things out there, and I look at them very broadly, but until I really see a specific purpose that I can use it for, I try to limit my time because, you know, I'm all about billing.
That's probably smart, Joanne. My thing is, I love playing with these toys to see how I could use them and to see if one might replace another one or do what I'm doing better. And you know what I'm finding? Like Evernote, I've used for years, and I love Evernote. But there's, you know, I read an article recently about one of the problems with some of these applications like Evernote, where it kind of wants to be all things to all purposes and to all people. My Evernote is starting to feel like it's getting very cluttered, right? And I've accumulated, I think, probably well over 10,000 notes in my Evernote. And, you know, part of it was because I started moving to that whole, is it David Allen method, the getting things done?
Yep.
And so I got away from having notebooks for each client because I was using tags instead. But here's a fundamental problem with that, at least for my workflow, is when I was doing it with notebooks for each client, when a client became inactive, I would export that notebook to that ENEX file, and I would just leave that in Dropbox. So if the client ever came back and I needed the notes and information, it would be there. But this way, it minimized how. So I'm starting to sort of move things back to that in Evernote. But I'm also starting to ask myself, are there some processes that I'm doing in Evernote that would be better served using Wunderlist or Trello? You know, and I'm honestly back and forth because I've started using Wunderlist a lot. But the thing that I love about Evernote is that Evernote, I have a note for every day, you know, called Daily Notes, notes for Friday, April 17th, 2015, and I have my little check boxes and my to-do lists, right? And I can create the substructures that I need, so I can reorganize that every day based on what things that are on this list I'm going to do today and what things I'm going to do later on, right? And then beyond that, if I have a specific task for a client, that's a separate note with whatever information and attachments I need. So that's just one example of use cases where I'm frankly struggling back and forth. Do I want to stick with Evernote, or do I want to go to like a Wonder list?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so what I'm starting to do is find very specific purposes for each of these different project management tools to force myself to engage with them, and then ultimately start making more decisions about which things are good for which purposes, or maybe it's Evernote is good for all purposes. You know, whatever it is, that's what I'm starting to play around with and look at.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to spend a little bit of time with each of the different things, but honestly, if it really doesn't like grab me right from the get-go that this could be better than, you know, whatever the case may be, I kind of put it in my, I'll put it in my utility belt, but I don't really go full board with learning everything about it, and unless it's an issue or it's something that I really want to, you know, look into. So I do try to minimize as much as possible, because there's so many things, you know, I mean, talking not even just accounting applications, but, you know, practice management and social media, and it's just, it's crazy the amount of things. You could literally spend forever doing this stuff.
You know, the problem
So you're ready to get really overwhelmed? I'll share my mind map with you.
You know, we don't think of time as a cost, or a lot of people don't. They think, you know, they think of money as a cost, but not time. And to me, if I'm going to invest the time, I expect an ROI on that investment. And so, you know, that's kind of the fundamental limitation of life, is that we can't be doing everything at the same time.
Well,
and so, if we're spending time learning something, that's time we're not either billable hours or enjoying with family or whatever. So it's like, at least for me, I try to think, is this going to pay off? I mean, like, for example, Smartsheets was a good investment of my time because it really helped me this tax season. So I can see that was time well spent to learn that, and I still have more to learn. But once I learn something, I try to stick with it, like Zoho. I mean, it works, and I'm efficient in it. So there'd have to be a CRM that's a lot more efficient for me to justify the time learning it, at least in my eyes.
Right.
What
See,
makes
part of
it
what I'm
go
doing is trying to help people decide. So,
Right.
I'm sorry, Gina, go ahead.
What makes it go to the top of the list for me is if I have a client with a need. That's when I want to go in and go full boot. But other than that, there are applications that I want to know more about. Xero. I want the certification for the advanced online. Bill.com. What do you have, Seth?
All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to click on my thumbnail here so that you guys can see it. Oh, hey, look, I got an email from Eric about Course 7.
I got it too.
All right,
Look,
so
squirrel, shiny object.
Yeah, exactly. Applications that help run a business. So this is going to be, this is kind of an outline I've been working on for over a year now. You know, just little by little going in and seeing what applications there are that cover different needs, right? So if I go over here just to applications, I've got accounting applications, right? And so these are things that I consider accounting applications. Bill.com, BillQuick, Concur, eFile 1099now.com was something I put in there as an alternative to track1099.com. I was curious about that. QBox, QuickBooks Desktop, of course, QuickBooks Online, Sage 300, T-Sheets, Wave, Xero, and Zoho Books, right? And I'm hearing more and more about Zoho Books and how it's getting sort of better. Suchi, by the way, asked about a webcam. Suchi, I use a Microsoft LifeCam is what I use, in case you are wondering. So these are accounting applications, but let's go back up, and now let's look at CRM. I mean, it's overwhelming how many there are. Now, I put Evernote in here because at some point I plan on doing a course on Evernote, and I plan on talking about how I actually substantially use Evernote as a CRM. Highrise, Infusionsoft, Insightly, Method, NetSuite, Nimble, Sage, Salesforce, SalesPad, Streak. I hate it, actually. I tried Streak. It has a nice integration with Gmail, or Google Apps, and I hated it. So I'm probably going to pull it off this list. And then there's Sugar CRM. So these are just CRMs, right? So let's go back to now document management. Box.net is really Box.com now. I guess it used to be Box.net and they changed it. Now it's both, of course. Dropbox, Evernote, Google Docs, Ledger Docs, ShareFile, and SmartVault. And these are just a few. There's a lot more than this out there.
I just found that Box this year. I love that.
I love Box too. I'm sort of, one of the things I'm going to talk about in my cloud practice management course is how when we're choosing these applications, in certain cases, I believe we need two. We need one that's strictly internal and one that's client-facing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about that in the course and how I really define what that means. Box.com is much more sophisticated, Billy Ann, than Dropbox is, and Box.com is known for its security, where Dropbox has had its share of problems with security over the years. Box was originally built for industry, right? They weren't really ever made to be like an individual use type application. So Box.com is much more sophisticated than Dropbox is in terms of its features, what it can do, how you can share, and the control you have over who has access to what and at what level. When I go to share a folder or a file with somebody in Box, there's a whole set of sort of levels of access that I can choose from. So I can
I loved the fact that the one thing that I thought was and my clients loved it the most, is the custom URL.
Yeah, although I've stayed away from that because they warn you about security when you do that.
Yeah, but I don't make it like Joe Smith's tax documents. I create a funny, quirky. I put my little spin on it and be creative with what what the name of the folder is, and they just think it's hysterical.
See, I'm going to call it Seth's account routing and social security number.
No. But just being able to do that and being able to then set the expiration date and be able to set a passcode to it, I love it.
Yeah.
So easy, drag and drop. And then with the other thing too, it does, and which is really cool, is it also you can actually look at the analytics to see how many downloads there has been, and
right.
when they've downloaded stuff.
Box doesn't do that I wish it did, that ShareFile does, is ShareFile makes it easy for me to generate a link that somebody can use to download a file, but where it requires them to give you their email address. So for marketing purposes, if I want to offer a free download, ShareFile lets me do that. With Box, I have to invite them into the folder in order to get their email address, which I don't necessarily want to do. I want to be able to just say, hey, download this file, but before you do, you got to give me your email address so I know who's downloaded it. Box doesn't do that. I wish they would.
So is Box like SmartVault?
Well, they're all the same in that you can manage files and sync them through the cloud. SmartVault is different in that it has the integration with QuickBooks. None of the others have that, but I don't find I need that so much. It's a cool, convenient thing to have, but I don't need it. Although I was recently playing with SmartVault's integration with Xero and QBO, and that works pretty well. I thought that was pretty cool, the way that works.
I like SmartVault. You can have it on, the folders on your desktop, but they're really up in the cloud, and so you can save stuff to it looks like your desktop, but you really save it to the cloud.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about SmartVault is you can map the drive to your computer locally, so it works and acts like you're working locally, but really the file lives in the cloud, and then you don't have to worry about conflicts, because similar to if you had two people trying to access the file on the same network, it would lock them out because somebody else is in it. That's what you'll get with SmartVault. Is there'll be, anybody else who's sharing it will be locked out because you are actually accessing a file on the server side, which is in the web with SmartVault, not on your local computer. So that's a big advantage of SmartVault when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to have tax returns on my hard drive. I'd rather have them up in the cloud.
Right. So, and this is a great example of where I have two solutions, one that's strictly internal and one that's client-facing. Google Docs is my strictly internal document storage solution that I use for Nerd Enterprises. Box is what I use for client-facing, and the only way I use Box really right now with client-facing is to provide a portal for them to securely upload files to me. And what happens is the client gets an inbox. They upload to, I have a client folder. Within that I have an inbox, and I have a secure file delivery. So when I want to deliver files securely to them, I use that as well. So they upload into the inbox. The document gets renamed, and then it goes into actually a third folder, which is a permanent archive of everything they've ever uploaded to us. So we have that. To me, it's important to have that kind of audit trail. But then the renamed copy of the document goes into our Google Docs in an appropriate folder with the right naming convention and all that. So that's kind of, we have a whole workflow around that, which works very well for us. But SmartVault is great. So this is, again, just a sampling of your document management choices that are out there. LedgerDocs is great, but LedgerDocs is strictly in the cloud. It's not like SmartVault where you have the ability to map a drive and get to it locally. So that's where I kind of, I'm sort of out when it comes to LedgerDocs, only because the only way to access and use a file is I got to go onto the cloud, download it, work on it, and then upload it back. So that kind of fails for me. It's too disconnected in terms of the workflow there. So it looks like we had Joey in here for a second, and then we lost him. So back to applications. So that's document management. Then we have e-commerce. And I haven't really dug very deep into this. I've just got Shopify and WooCommerce in here. There's so many others. And going back to looking at the Xero add-on ecosystem, if you search e-commerce in there, you're going to see there's a ton of solutions that work there. And I was talking with Jay Kimmelman on the phone yesterday, actually, a little bit about, because he uses Xero a lot and he uses their ecosystem. So he was giving me some insights into what he likes in terms of, the e-commerce applications that work with Xero. So then we have payroll, and I've got ADP, Intuit Online Paychecks, and Zen Payroll. Again, there are many others. These are just kind of to name a few, and I haven't gone terribly deep with that. And then off of Paychecks is Sure Payroll, which is where you can white label your own payroll service to your clients if you wanted to, and that's something I'm looking into doing probably for Nerd Enterprises. Then we have just general productivity applications, and that's where I've subcategorized some of the other groupings of applications, right? So let's from here go into project management, because that's where you're going to see a lot of the same stuff, right? Under productivity, I've got the same document management group. I've got Evernote definitely in there by itself. Smartsheet, the brain, which is of course what you're looking at literally right now as I'm showing this to you. And then TimeTrade for, what do you call it? Taking your appointment setting system online and automating that process. Under project management, there's so much. 5 p.m. Web. Active Collab is another one that I use extensively. In fact, where I love Active Collab? I love Active Collab on a lot of levels. Like Active Collab could easily replace a lot of what I'm doing in Evernote, as well as a lot of what I might be doing in like a Wunderlist, right? Because Active Collab, in my opinion, very nicely combines a lot of those processes. It has the notebooks area, which helps me replace a lot of the stuff I'm doing in Evernote. It has a beautiful task management system. Did somebody say something? I thought I heard someone. Okay, so Active Collab is great. Asana, right? I know a lot of us use Asana. I've tried with Asana, and I keep sort of hitting walls with Asana. I don't end up loving it. Central Desktop is a really cool, robust project management, but it's price prohibitive, in my opinion and experience. The last few times I looked, it's expensive, but it's expensive because it does a lot. Of course, Evernote's going to show up like everywhere in this ecosystem because there's so many ways it can be used. Jetpack Workflow, we've had them on our Hangout. We've taken a look. I think some of us have started to use it. Really, really cool application. It's designed specifically for accountants. Podio is a Citrix product, basic project, not basic, it's robust project management, very similar in terms of functionality to Zoho projects. BillQuick, of course, great project management software. We've got that, that whole course on BillQuick. So if you haven't checked that out, because BillQuick syncs seamlessly with QuickBooks, I'm hoping to see them do something with, with Xero as well. What did Billy Ann say? I have to go back to the chat. I had my. You guys are talking without me here.
She commented that her stuff to check out list in Wunderlist has doubled since you began sharing your mind map.
I see that now. I had the control panel thing up. So that's hysterical. I actually love hearing that. At the same time, I hope I haven't provided you with too many shiny squirrels. So moving along, Red Booth is something I discovered, haven't looked at too deeply, but it looked interesting enough for me to want to include it on this list and eventually check it out. Smartsheet, of course, another one we've got a course on. And if you haven't, Dennis, in using Smartsheet, have you checked out the course that I did and showing how I lay out all the different tasks for either an accounting practice or a tax practice?
No, I guess I wasn't aware there was a course out there for Smartsheet. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's in schoolofbookkeeping.com. We launched it, I don't know, a little over a month ago, I think. But yeah, it's a whole course on a lot of different areas of Smartsheet and how they can be used. And then I did 2 lessons specifically on how to lay out an engagement for an accounting or bookkeeping practice as well as for a tax practice. So
yeah, I use it for kind of a control panel. I've color-coded things so I can know exactly where each return is in my process, and since I color and I can filter. I use one as kind of like it serves both as a count and a sum, and so I can filter on one, see which returns are in each step of the process. So it's been really helpful for me.
Right. So in theory, if you had a smart sheet for each client, and somewhere within that sheet you had it defined what stage of the process that return was in, that could be linked up to your management smart sheet and have it automatically, use the conditional formatting to code it based on the linkage, so that I could actually help you streamline that process if you don't have it set up that way already.
Okay, so when you have a sheet, is it you get so many sheets at different price points? Is that the deal?
Yeah, so I think I have like their middle tier plan, and it's like 150 sheets or something like that.
Okay, and the middle tier is what, about $25 a month or something like that, or
35, I think. And then obviously you pay for a year up front, you save a little.
Yeah. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, so that's how I would, set that up if it were me, is having a sheet to describe the stage, that each return is in, plus all the other information, right? All this, and you'll see that in the course where I talk about how to gather and sort of check off what documentation you need from the client and whether or not it's been received. Of course, you can use Smartsheet to send update requests to, have them upload that information directly into Smartsheet. The document attachment feature of Smartsheet is amazing. And the fact that you can comment and even invite the client in to collaborate with you there. So, there's some really cool stuff and ways that you can use Smartsheet to manage your practice.
One thing you might want to consider for a Hangout is these cloud integrators like with Zapier and, that you can link up the different cloud apps. Because I've got a couple I'd like to be able to have Zoho notes flow to my Smartsheet and vice versa.
Smartsheet actually has Smartsheet integrates nicely with Box.com, speaking of, and Google Docs.
Yeah, I also know it integrates with Evernote. But I've kind of adopted your practice where rather than take notes in CRM, I'll take it in Evernote, and then if I decide if they're worth being a lead, then I'll transfer it to CRM rather than clutter up my CRM with false leads.
Right. Yep. I love that. So then teamwork.com is another one, kind of like Red Booth. I've heard of it. I've looked at it. It looks interesting, but I haven't gotten too deep with it myself. And and this is funny. So this was submitted by somebody on the web. That's how I found out about it. You see my note there. It says submitted by Bobby Joe Woods. I have a form actually out there that if you have an application to suggest, you can. It's done through Smartsheet actually. You can drop it in, and then I add it here. And then Trello, of course. Trello I love. Trello is one of those tools I really love to use. It's got a. Have you guys seen Trello? How many people have not seen Trello? Show of hands. Be honest. Okay, so I had actually prepared for today, and I have an example of a Trello sheet up. Is it here? No, this is Wunderlist. There's Sprout Social. All right, so here's Trello. This is an example of a Trello board that I've created called Bookkeeping Process, and this is where I'm just playing around doing some research, trying to figure out, how I want to streamline my processes, right? So right here, talking about specializations, I have a little card here. What industries do we want to go for? So I can click on this card and I can get into details. I can write comments, and I love the commenting feature because it'll date it and timestamp it for me, so I'll get that context in there. Of course, here I can edit the description so I can write a little bit more detail. I can add a checklist.
Love the checklist.
Isn't that checklist great? So I can say, all right, I want real estate. You know, these are kind of my specialties: real estate, construction. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I'm in the comment here. I got to cancel the comment. Interesting. How do I get out of the comment? Go away. All right, so there's some feedback for Trello. A little bit of a flaw. There's no cancel option when you start to comment.
No takebacks. Comment.
All right, now let's do a checklist. There we go. So we're going to call this industries. Right. So okay, now this makes more sense. So real estate, construction, manufacturing, wholesale, right? These are my own personal specialties, the areas that I specialize in. Property management could go hand in hand with real estate, so I'll just leave that. And then once I'm done, see, now we have a nice little X that lets me say I'm done. So now the checklists, of course, are meant to do just that, to check off things as you've accomplished them. And once you do, notice what it does is it gives you your kind of percentage complete. Isn't that cool? So it's got, and then you know, the attachments. It's got Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive. So it's got a lot of nice integrations. So Trello is great. And then if I want to create like a workflow in Trello, you know, that's kind of what these lists can be. So then I've got the apparel business is another one of my specialties. To be very honest, it's an area that I want to make one of my specialties. You know, it's something I'm targeting now within my own business. Because I want to do that to force myself to learn more about the e-commerce stuff and whatnot. But let's say I created a workflow. It's really easy and nice and visual where I can click and drag a card, right? And I can just drop it in. So it's very, very visual. And it makes it nice because I can set up a board with a workflow and say, okay, this is being done. This is completed, right? So I just rename these lists, of course, accordingly. Like this is to do, this is work in progress, this is done, right? And then I just drag things over as they're completed. And if I want to collaborate, I've got my buddy Jeff in here, and I can assign him to a task by clicking and dragging his little icon over there. And boom, he's now been assigned the task. And it shows in the activity that I added Jeff Berman and to that card. And then I can, oops, I didn't want to do that. I'm trying to take him out. So I can remove him from the card that way. So Trello is a really cool app. It's one of those things that I haven't had a chance to really incorporate into my process. I had at a certain point been using it, and then I got away from it because I ended up doing a lot of the stuff that I was doing in Evernote, and I kind of just went back to Evernote. But now I'm getting back into using it again because to me, first of all, it's fun to use these different toys and tools, and secondly, I'm trying to find, like I said earlier, specific use cases where I differentiate. That I'm using Trello for, like the way I'll describe how I'm using Trello now is for big picture exploration and research. What do I want to do kind of stuff, right? Whereas, oh, that's funny. There's a Wunderlist reminder for me. Whereas I'm using Wunderlist. Wunderlist is awesome for on the fly. I have it to do. I just thought about it. I can do it in Evernote. But the thing about Wunderlist is it's just faster. I can pull up my Wunderlist app on my phone, and in a few clicks or taps, I can get a quick to-do in my to-do inbox in Wunderlist, and I can get back to it later. And I can set reminders, and Wunderlist does recurring tasks really well.
Can you do does it take can you speak into it, or I mean, does it record notes, or do you have to actually type it in?
Well, no, it uses my Android, the same with an Android device. You can use voice recognition on any application. So
okay.
Once you bring up the keyboard, there's that microphone icon which you can use. So yeah, that's supported, of course.
Okay.
So now let's go back to my mind map. So that's Trello, and that's kind of does it for now for project management. Let's see what else I've got. Then, of course, there's all the social media stuff. Right? So we have different networks. Ello is a new one. Empire Avenue is a little used and known one, but it's got its uses that work really well. Facebook, of course, Google Plus, Hub Pages is something I put under here under social media networks. It's almost more like a blogging platform. Instagram, MySpace, we all know went kind of the music route. It's like a music app. Pinterest, Tumblr, and Twitter. And then I have the apps.
What's Ello?
Ello is a new. It hasn't really taken. I didn't expect it would. It's a very sort of. When I look at it, I feel like I'm in a throwback to like some kind of a DOS-based bulletin board system. You know, like it's very sort of skimpy graphically, and they've done that on purpose. The idea of it is there's no advertisers. They're never going to have advertisers on there, so a lot of techies started going there because they got tired of Facebook and Google Plus with all its advertising. But I don't really love it. I don't love the flow of things, and you know, to be honest, I went out there on it for a little while. I started trying to connect with people, and I just didn't feel there was a very good response from people. So I said, you know what, I'm not wasting my time on this. This is one of those where I eventually, and pretty quickly actually said, this is a waste of my time for now. I've got the account, so I've got my brand on there in case it ever does take off and lots of people start using it. But Dennis, speaking of voice recognition, notice here where it says, pay Alexandra's purple.
Yeah, I have a thing called Umail, and it does voice recognition, and it has some really kind of. I had this one client we were talking about setting her up as an S corp, and it translated as setting her up as an escort, ESCORT. So
nice.
Yeah.
The client's like, wow, I didn't know you provided that kind of service.
Yeah, really.
I'm surprised the rates aren't higher.
Yeah. Yeah, so it gets to be kind of, I mean, it's kind of you can kind of get, you know, sometimes the voice transcription comes in pretty clearly. Sometimes it's kind of like, huh? You know, but it's like $10 a month. I think it's called Umail.
Okay. Yeah, I have fun with my voice transcription. I get all kinds of funny things. But I saw that it came up with purple instead of people, and I said, you know what, I like that. I'm going to pay her purple. So I just left it. Pay your purple. Don't forget to pay your purple.
Don't forget to send us zero balls.
Send me the address that you want them sent to, and that will be my trigger to know that I need to send them to you, and then I'll also know where to send them.
You have my address.
I know I do. But what I don't have is the remote. See, now I have to go to Wunderlist and say, send Gina blue ball.
You, Mr. Organization, should be no problem. I'll send you an email.
So email 0 blue balls at schoolofbookkeeping.com. No, I'm kidding. That's not a real email address. We won't get it.
I'll title
All right,
it.
anybody else? Any closing words? Gina, what's going on this afternoon? Open session? Open season?
Open session, open season. Like you, we're relaxed today, and I don't expect a whole lot. Everybody's just getting over tax season.
I'm going to start praying with my 0 ball. I'm going to get down and my daily prayer.
Gina,
the
I
zero
tried to
God.
find your Hangout last week, and I couldn't find it.
Sarah, I invite you personally every week. So I'm going to do what Seth did. Make sure the link is in the event page. So all you need to do is go on the event page. You'll find the link there.
Yeah. We lost her. She froze up just as she said that.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll see you later this afternoon, Sarah.
All right. See you all later.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.